Trump's auto tariff pause. Will it save U.S. jobs or spark a trade war? In the middle of 2025, Donald Trump made headlines once again, this time by pausing a controversial plan to slap major tariffs on foreign-made cars. Framed as a patriotic move to bring auto manufacturing back to American soil, the pause has triggered both praise and panic across the industry. But here's where it gets serious. Analysts warn that if those tariffs are enforced, car prices could rise by $5,000 to $10,000 on average. Stellantis and Ford are already sounding the alarm. And Stellantis chairman John Elkann didn't mince words, saying that cumulative tariffs on steel and aluminum are destabilizing the entire sector. So, is Trump protecting American jobs or risking a trade war that could backfire on everyone? Let's dive in and break it all down. Trump's official stance? It's all about America first. The message is clear. Repatriate manufacturing, reduce reliance on foreign suppliers, and reinforce national security, especially when it comes to China, and increasingly, even traditional allies like Canada and Mexico. According to Trump, these tariffs are meant to pressure automakers to bring production back to U.S. soil, reviving shuttered plants, re-energizing Rust Belt economies, and restoring thousands of middle-class jobs. He points to states like Michigan and Ohio as battlegrounds of lost industrial power. But here's the inconvenient truth. Only about 25% of a vehicle sold in the U.S. is truly made in America, when you consider all the parts, labor, and materials. The rest, sourced globally, from Japan, Germany, Mexico, and increasingly, Southeast Asia. And that's the catch. Modern automaking is a global puzzle. Untangling it just to make a political point, that's where things get complicated. Trump's strategy appeals to his base. It's bold, nationalist, and makes headlines. But the reality? Rebuilding entire supply chains on U.S. soil could take years, cost billions, and potentially hurt the very consumers he's trying to protect. As soon as Trump hinted at sweeping tariffs on imported vehicles and parts, the big three didn't stay quiet. Ford, GM, and Stellantis immediately pushed back hard. Executives warned that these tariffs could add between $5,000 and $10,000 to the cost of a new car, especially for models heavily reliant on foreign parts. That's not just speculation. Internal estimates leaked from Stellantis suggest a 17% spike in production costs if the tariffs go permanent. And the backlash isn't just about the price tag. John Elkann, CEO of Stellantis, went public, stating, "The cumulative impact of steel, aluminum, and now vehicle tariffs is destabilizing the industry. Long-term planning becomes impossible." At Ford, the concerns are equally sharp. They've invested billions in North American EV production, but warn that sudden policy shifts risk turning careful strategy into chaos. The core message? Automakers aren't against domestic investment. In fact, most are already shifting toward more U.S.-based manufacturing. But they argue that blunt force tariffs hurt flexibility, raise prices for consumers, and put global partnerships at risk. Even GM, which once seemed aligned with Trump's agenda, is now warning of plant delays and EV timeline disruptions due to supply chain bottlenecks caused by trade tensions. In short, the very companies Trump claims to protect, they're telling him, you might be doing more harm than good. Let's cut through the political noise. What do Trump's tariffs actually mean for you, the American car buyer? In one word, more expensive. Analysts predict that if these tariffs become permanent, the average price of a new car could jump by $5,000 to $10,000. And that's not just for luxury models. We're talking about mid-size SUVs, compact sedans, and even hybrids, vehicles many families rely on. Why? Because roughly 75% of the components in vehicles sold in the U.S. come from outside the country. From semiconductors made in Taiwan to transmissions built in Mexico, the modern car is a global product. And tariffs, they act like a tax on that complexity. Take this example. A Ford Escape, which currently starts around $29,000, could easily push past $35,000 with new tariffs layered on steel, aluminum, and imported electronics. And the pain doesn't stop at the dealership. Insurance premiums, repair costs, and replacement parts could also rise, especially for models with globally sourced components. So while the policy might sound like it's aimed at foreign competitors, the real burden often lands on the buyer, and it could put millions of Americans on the sidelines of the new car market. Bottom line, Trump's tariff pause might feel like a win, for now. But if it goes full throttle, consumers could be the first to pay the price. Trump's tariff pause isn't happening in a vacuum. Behind the headlines, there's a much bigger game unfolding, and the rest of the world is watching. The European Union has already warned. If the U.S. goes ahead with permanent auto tariffs, we'll retaliate. China? Even more direct. Beijing has threatened mirror tariffs on American exports, not just cars, but agricultural products, industrial equipment, and pharmaceuticals. And don't forget Japan and South Korea, key suppliers of parts and vehicles to the U.S. Any shift in trade policy could jeopardize diplomatic relations and force those countries to double down on trade deals with Europe or China, leaving the U.S. increasingly isolated. We've seen this before. In 2018, Trump's steel and aluminum tariffs triggered a global tit-for-tat that hit American farmers, manufacturers, and even Harley-Davidson, which moved production overseas to avoid penalties. If this pattern repeats with cars, expect delays at ports, rising prices, and major disruptions in global supply chains, at a time when the auto industry is already struggling to recover from chip shortages and EV bottlenecks. So this isn't just about protecting jobs. It's about navigating a global minefield, and if the U.S. missteps, the fallout could hit both the economy and international alliances. So, what's really at stake here? A policy designed to protect U.S. jobs could end up raising prices, triggering retaliation, and hurting the very industries it aims to defend. While Trump's tariff pause buys time, the real question is, will it lead to smarter strategy or just delay the inevitable trade war? The auto industry is evolving fast. Between EV disruption, global supply chain shifts, and growing political pressure, the next few months will shape the future of American manufacturing. So what do you think? Will tariffs help or hurt U.S. workers and consumers? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for deep dives on the stories that really matter. This is Motorscope, where economics meets the road.